Hello, my name is Stephanie Villa, and I'm going to be talking about hallucinogens or psychedelics. So, what are hallucinogens? They are a diverse group of drugs that alter perceptions, thoughts, and feelings of a person. So, they cause hallucinations, so images, thoughts, and sensations that all seem very real, even if they aren't. Um, and hallucinogens can actually very commonly be found in certain plants, although a lot of times they are also man-made drugs. So the different types of hallucinogens that they are, um, they're typically categorized into three different types. So there's psychedelics, um, dissociatives, and deliriants. So the psychedelics basically let you experience everything in your surroundings. You have a very heightened sense of touch, smell, what you feel, or even what you taste. So everything basically becomes a world of its own. Everything is taken in, and everything like stimulates you very much. So very common drugs under this category are LSD or acid, and peyote, which is a cactus plant, and the chemical that's found in there that is the hallucinogen is called mescaline. And then we have the dissociatives, which create a state of sensory deprivation. So your body or your mind is basically free to create its own like perceptions of your environment. And the drugs that are commonly used under this category are shrooms or PCP, which is angel dust. And these produce an out of body experience. And then we have deliriants, which create false perceptions of reality. So these basically have a person react or do certain things that have nothing to do with themselves or like where they're currently at. So say you're like sitting in a car or something, you could possibly like feel like, oh, I just changed an entire outfit, or I just put on like these brand new clothes even though there's like no set of clothing anywhere near you, type of thing. And the hallucinogens that are commonly found under or used under this category are Jimson weed and deadly nightshade. The ones under this category are mainly plant-based. They're mainly like naturally found and not man-made. So the way that hallucinogens are taken is most commonly they're consumed. So you could swallow like with LSD, it's like a tiny little tab that you could swallow or like put on your tongue and then kind of let dissolve and then eat, or liquid that again you orally take. And since a lot of these are plant based, you can actually brew into a tea and drink. The less common form of taking hallucinogens is injecting or snorting. And then the effects of hallucinogens. So, like any other drug, or with basically anything else that a person will take, the trips or like responses that the body has varies very differently from person to person. What distinguishes a hallucinogen from other drugs is that like otherworldly experience or outer body experience that a lot of people have, which doesn't normally occur with other drugs. So um, there's like there's like typical stages that a lot of people have in common. Some people will experience all of them, and some people will only experience like one or two. So this is like the very heightened and exaggerated senses that a person has. There's like a loss of control, or like a loss of like you don't control your thoughts, or you don't control like what you see or perceive. There's a lot of self-reflection. So because you're being like kind of forced to think about stuff, it kind of makes you think about yourself and how you're like taking everything in. And then there's like kind of like a loss of identity or like cosmic merging, which is like the altered perceptions of realities and time, and then the illusions or hallucinations that a person has. So a lot of people describe a trip as going from normal to very colorful to emotional and merging with what's outside of your head, which all of these things could lead to a very negative response or a bad trip, as people call it, just because your brain is so overly stimulated that it could be very overwhelming, which could lead to all of the anxiety or like the self-harm possibly, or like sleep deprivation, and like nervousness and stuff, just because you're so overly stimulated, which is something a lot of people aren't used to. And then one thing that can sometimes be found after a person has taken the drug, or like has stopped taking hallucinogens, is hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, or HPPD, which is commonly an effect of LSD or taking LSD. Is basically, it's like flashbacks that a person has. So like after you're done with the drug, a person will have a flashback of all the feelings and all the thoughts and sensations that they had with the drug, even though the drug isn't in their system, which could kind of go away on its own, but it could also happen like months after you're done with the drug. It's not that well known or really like researched, but it's basically just flashbacks, which for some people could be really great because it's like a free high, but for others, especially those who have had bad trips in the past, that could really suck. That could be really bad. And the thing with hallucinogens is actually they're not super addicting like other drugs. So like, say you don't have like constant use, you're more likely not gonna get addicted to it, although a person will build tolerance to it, so you may need to take higher doses to like feel that same high. But it's not super addictive.